Hi, welcome to Stars Are Aligned, episode 8. This episode is very special to me because I don't have my husband co-hosting. It's just me, and I have a special guest. Ashley is my oldest son's fiance, and we have a lot in common. So we wanted to talk about some of our similarities that we have when it comes to our significant others and children. So say hi to our fans.
Hello.
So my husband Travis Brown thought it would be a great idea to discuss a topic regarding dating and having children prior to marriage, especially when it's not, children from another person. And so, just to explain some of our experiences, I know there are so many people out there who have had experience where they found the love of their life, but they already had children in their lives, and just to see how the things were acclimated. So, one of the questions that the men have are, how did kids modify our dating habits, for situations like locations, where do we date? And how long did we date? And if we had specific age groups. So for me, when I had my oldest two boys before I was married, um, my dating was more selfish. I dated for myself and my needs, not for my children's needs, because I never had the men meet my children. So it was basically, kind of just a smash and grab, and that was it. I never dated to find a father or father figure for my children. What about you?
I agree with what you're saying. Like I was stating, the length it was not long, just due to the fact that like you were stating, I wasn't trying to find anything serious. It was just something for me. Location wise, it wasn't much of seeing every now and then, but more so via text or, talking on the phone because my schedule, my child's schedule, it just didn't align with, being able to meet up with men whenever I pleased. Age groups, I would say that I've tried not to steer too far away from my age. I'm currently 27 now. So maximum 4, 5 years older than me. But I didn't really want anybody close to my age because I just felt like the maturity level would not have been there.
I didn't worry about age.
Really?
Mm-mm.
I did. I don't know. That's just always been a thing. It's always been like that set bracket for me, and it always has been older. I also think communication wise,
Mhm.
that's the group that I get along with well. You know how they always say like women are faster than
Yeah,
men. We
yeah,
do, but that's
yeah.
the
That's very
age
true.
group that I think I get along with the best and actually can communicate with. So try to stay there, but it wasn't much. I
Mm.
would say real dating. It was superficial
Yeah, I
for
wasn't worried
sure.
about communication. The less communication, the better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Come do what you do and go
Go
home.
home. Yeah. That's exactly because we had to time it. We had to make sure our kids weren't there. Either they were
Right.
sleeping, or which, yeah, I did wait till they slept. I've done
Me,
that a
me
couple
too.
times. Yeah.
Me too.
So you have to be real careful about that. So it took some talent,
Yeah.
and that was just to be respectful to my children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what about? Did you feel that your value changed after you had children?
I do feel like it did change. I feel like it went down. Just personally because like I said, person can have everything. You can have the place, the car, the looks, the money. But I was like, the next woman has the same thing as me and she doesn't have kids, so that makes her better than me. Or I would think, for a man who doesn't have children, or even one who has kids, but of course the kid stays with their mom. They even have more time than me. So why would they want to wait on me when they can just go be with a woman who has free time 24/7 because she doesn't have responsibility of children? So I do feel like it went down in the beginning. As my children got older, I started to feel like, it's not bad because there are a lot of women on this earth in my same situation where they have children, didn't marry the father and are trying to continue on with our lives, and it kind of became a thing of don't make my past determine my present or my
Right.
future.
Right. 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 Yeah, I kind of felt differently. I
Mhm.
felt that my value increased.
Mhm.
Having children prior to my husband, it really prepared me on the nurturing part
Mhm.
for my husband. Also, the things of being detailed, um, having to multitask,
Mhm.
all these behave qualities that a single person may not have.
Right.
I already had for my husband. So I was in a better state of mind
Mhm.
to show him how to be a father as well.
Mhm.
Um, and for us not to both be going in it blindly. But because, as a woman, to be able to have children, to be able to nurture them, to be able to care for them, I mean, our
Mhm.
bodies alone can do more for children than the man can.
Yeah.
They can feed off of us. We
Yeah.
we we can keep them warm. They can eat off.
Mhm.
They eat off of our bodies. They grow in us. So many things that definitely a man can't do.
Mhm.
So being able to have children and date successfully, I felt that my value increased. Let's see. Our next question. What were your new criteria for a mate if you had any criteria when you were dating with children?
Oh, my criteria is it still is to this day, even though I'm not dating anymore. But
Thank goodness.
okay. But
Or else I'm gonna have to tell.
okay. But he most definitely has to be respectful. That was my main thing. Do not disrespect me. Don't hurt me. All that in front of my children.
Mm,
Because ultimately, I have girls who are watching me and I'm their example of what a woman is supposed to be.
absolutely.
So if I'm failing in that area, I can't expect them to do better. I mean, they
Hmm.
can, but why not set that best example coming from home, which is
Yeah.
their mother? The other thing is just having the same things I have, the normal things you need stability wise. Have a job, have a place,
Hmm.
like because ultimately I already have two kids I'm taking care of. I'm not taking care of a third. So, just to have those same things because I don't have a choice but to have them. I have children, so I must have those normal things to sustain in life. But
Hmm.
be a man, have them too. It feels better when you're going into the relationship equal.
Right.
The other thing is never really required men to be that father to my kid because
Hmm.
I feel like it's kind of a lot to put it on a man to say you must do this for my kids when
Absolutely.
it's not their kids.
Yeah.
But of course I want my kids to like him and
But you wanted to
you
be
know,
natural. Yeah.
yeah. And I want them to be happy,
Hmm.
around this person because it brings me comfort. Because kids they can normally tell when someone is
Not
good or
right.
bad.
Yeah.
So to see, okay, my kids like him. They smile when they see him. They greet him if he walks through the door. It makes me more comfortable. Like, okay, I did pick a good person.
Hmm. And then neither one of us, our significant others, did not was never married before, and they
Mm-hmm.
did not have children.
Mm-hmm.
So we both came into the relationships with relationships prior, and
Mm-hmm.
we had children.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a task to kind of get that moment where you introduced your children to someone that you truly had interest in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. My criteria for a mate, I didn't have a criteria for a mate as a father because I wasn't looking for someone to be a father to my children because that was never my goal, was to actually be married again. Um, so I think but once he became a very important person in my life, I think the criteria I was looking for mainly was patience and
Mm-hmm.
kindness, and to see someone who was dedicated to accomplishing a task. And it doesn't have to be the task of being a father, but any task,
Mhm.
is he dedicated to accomplishing a task? How important is that to him?
Mhm.
If it's someone who gives up easily, I don't want that person,
Yeah.
because, with all the trials and tribulations that come with parenthood, being a significant other, sharing space, that takes a lot of dedication. That takes a lot of patience and trust. So let's see. The next question is, how important was the guy's relationship with your kids in the dating process? So with Chris, how important was that to you when you were, introducing him to the girls?
At first, it wasn't important. That might sound bad.
It is what it is.
It wasn't important
Yeah.
because I was like, I like him.
Yeah. He's for
I'm gonna
me.
see him, even
Yeah.
if the kids don't see him. I'm gonna
Yeah.
see him. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't important
I
at
understand.
first. But as time went on, and I'm like, okay, so many months have gone by. Okay, so many more months have gone by. Okay, a year has gone by. Like, okay, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, it most definitely became important. And then it wasn't even so much him towards them. It was how I noticed they were towards him. Like, they automatically like clung to him very,
Mm.
very fast. And I'm just like, okay, maybe, that's just how kids are. But
Yeah.
no, they clung to him fast. I mean, welcomed him, warming, happy. They like him more than they like me now. So,
Mm. That
it's
speaks volumes.
so it at this point I can say it most definitely is really important because I don't see him going anywhere and I don't want him going anywhere. Like it's to a point now where me and him have even had conversations. I'm like, if something was to happen between our relationship, I'd have to explain to my kids where you are now
Right.
because
Right.
they're going to be looking for you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that would hurt.
Yeah. Just like
Whereas,
as if you had children together, same
mm-hmm,
thing, because they have that bond was created, and
mm-hmm,
they don't understand
yeah,
what we go through as adults with significant others. They don't understand
mm-hmm,
that dynamic. They just know that that other person is there for them.
mm-hmm,
Um, so it is hard to explain to a child when that relationship doesn't work out.
yeah. But that on my end, that's pretty much what it is now. Like it's most definitely important now because I see how important he is to my kids.
Hmm.
So of course, what's ever important to my children is important to me.
Yeah, and for me, it was definitely the the idea of having a good role model. I know as Chris being a man to your daughters, he needs to be a good role model for them so that they know the kind of man that treats them right.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Travis was a great role model for my boys so they can see how well to treat a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like that was, you know, very important to me, that they pick up on habits.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to make sure that the person that I finally introduced to my kids had those qualities. And Travis really, checked the box on several things, because we're
Mm-hmm.
like night and day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more laid back. He's more structured,
Mm-hmm.
and so that balance created a good environment for my kids.
I'm
And
glad you touched on that too, because that's
mm-hmm,
how me and Chris
mm-hmm,
are. Like, I tell him it's funny. I'm like, we're identical, but we're completely opposite
mm-hmm,
because he's the more introverted, I'm the more
mm-hmm,
extroverted. But
mm-hmm.
everywhere where I lack in, he fills in,
Yeah,
vice versa.
absolutely.
So,
I go through the same thing.
mm-hmm,
And it was, it was very trying to pick that person. Um, it was it was a hard decision to make.
mm-hmm,
Once you felt that this relationship was going to go further,
mm-hmm,
then how do you introduce the man to your kids?
mm-hmm.
For me, it was very stressful.
Yeah,
And because my kids were a little bit older than
mm-hmm,
yours,
yeah,
so these were young men, and you know how sons are with their mother.
yeah.
you know, they any other man that comes into the relationship is pretty much the enemy.
Yeah.
And so being able to I think the most difficult part is being the me as a mother being the person in the middle, trying to make
Right.
sure that your man is fine, and then making sure your children are fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be able to balance that without taking sides. And I
Right.
think that was real. That was the toughest part. Um, the next question is: did we say how important was the guy's relationship with your kids?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How hard was it to let someone else into your heart? We kind of touched some of the bases on that, but like I said, earlier, it was difficult for me to let someone into my heart because now we're gone past the, smash and grab,
Right.
and and so it was more of I had to make a life decision for my kids. Is this person going
Mm-hmm.
to be safe with my children? Are my children going to be safe with him?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they bonded initially on video games. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
how it started. And so, but after that, he became a really great father figure in being able to still give structure without being an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. One time.
How hard was it to let someone else into your heart?
That's a good question. It was very hard.
It is.
It wasn't because of my children though. It was because of previous relationships. I was single for 2 years before I met Chris, which for me being young and you know how young people just are, they go from person to person.
Yeah.
That was a lot for me. Like just being by myself, you know. Um and it was hard. Like a lot of times in the beginning, I would always tell them, you know, don't hurt me and I'm not sure if I can trust you and I know you're going to hurt me and it just took time, but he most definitely proved with his actions, and that's what made it easier. Like we don't have issues. We don't
Mm-hmm.
argue, we don't fight. We've never had any press issues, no big episodes come up, you know, with opposite sex or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he really overproved himself that he
Mm-hmm.
meant everything he said. So, I mean, with that, and then my kids already liking him, I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you know, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
And with me going through what I went through with my past relationships, I was just at a point where I'm like, I'm not going to keep risking it. Like, this person is showing me all the green flags. I haven't had one issue. Everything is flowing like water. So, how about I go with my right mind versus always choosing
Mm-hmm.
that guy we know we shouldn't be with? But oh, it's fun,
But
so
it's
I'm going to be with
Yeah,
him.
but it's easy for us to find a guy that we really shouldn't be with if we were single,
Exactly.
because we can dip in and out of relationships, and the only person who gets affected is me, myself.
Mm-hmm.
When your kids are involved, you got other people to think of, to put into that calculation of, well, if I don't like this guy, or if he
Mm-hmm.
gets on my nerves, then I can't. It's going to be harder for me to just dismiss him, because then I have to think about my children. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that was definitely a thought that ran through my mind before he was introduced to my kids, because once
Mm-hmm.
you make that decision, it's kind of hard to separate, because you're not just separating yourself, you're separating
Mm-hmm.
a whole family.
Yeah, and I also think with me it kind of made it easier, I guess, to transition into that was because you know we had already been friends and speaking with each other for about 6 months straight prior to him ever coming around or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, we've gotten to know each other as people. I like your personality, you like mine, and at that point I do feel like I was very confident in my decision to bring him around because at that point I've already fallen in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's okay now. It's that everything's going to be perfect
Yeah.
now.
So after all this time of being with Christopher and me being with Travis, do you have any lingering doubts still with them interacting with your children?
No, I don't. Like I said, I think the only thing I worry about is if anything was to separate us
Mm.
because, you know, he can walk out the front door to throw out the trash and where is he at?
Yeah.
Where is daddy?
Yeah.
Can you call him? He's at work?
Mm-hmm.
Is he coming back? And I'm like, he can't take 10 steps away, can he?
Right,
So,
right.
I think it's more so that I don't have any doubt with him pertaining to my kids at all. They love him. I do believe that he loves them. He overdoes his part when he doesn't have to. Honestly, in my opinion, he does more than their fathers do, but that's
Hmm.
another topic.
Yeah.
But
Me too. Because he actually raised them. He's the one who taught them how to do certain things.
hmm
He's the one who introduced them to life choices, you know.
hmm
And so that means everything to me. Now, in the beginning, let's when he first became, a father to my children, I was totally a nervous wreck
hmm
because my main thing was don't hit my kids
hmm
because that would have been crossing a line that it's kind of like a stranger beating them up on the
Yeah.
corner. So that was very important that that did not happen at that time
hmm
because it was already the transition to us being a cohesive family.
hmm
I didn't want my kids to be afraid of him.
Yeah.
And so it worked out well. I mean, anytime the kids had an issue, he would still address the issue with the kids.
hmm
But when we would talk about it, we would come up with a decision. If they had to get a beat down, I would be doing the beat down.
hmm
Um, but I never, and my kids never knew that I had that rule for for him not to hit them because I think if
hmm
they knew, then
hmm
they would really take advantage.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think with my daughters, that wasn't even like a conversation we had because they're girls. So he's already in the mindset, I'm not putting my hands on them. I'm calling your mom.
I'm
But
surprised you didn't have that conversation.
we didn't, because I mean, Chris, he's just so kind-hearted. He's sweet and just
Right.
mellow. Like I don't, he doesn't even, he's not aggressive.
Yeah.
So he gets annoyed with them the same way I do. But I already kind of mentally knew like they're girls. He's not gonna do it,
Hmm.
and he hasn't done it. And the other part is, we've talked about it, and I'm like, it's just the concern because even with their own fathers, I don't want their own fathers putting their hands on them
True
because a
that.
lot of men don't understand their strength.
Strength. Yeah.
And I'm like, with them being girls and my daughters are more fair tone,
Mm-hmm.
the marks show up better on them. So even I'm kind of,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
kind of, I don't know.
Because if they go to school with a bruise,
Now I'm in trouble. So
the whole family's in trouble.
so that's why I'm like, we never had that issue. Now he does always tell me, but one thing I will say is my girls know that he will not hit them.
Yeah.
They know that and they run with it.
Okay.
That's when I have to come home and, just because I'm not here, this, that, and this.
Mm-hmm.
But he sounds like a stressed out parent a lot on the phone like me. And I'm just like, man, sorry.
But aren't you kind of amazed on how they were able to get into that parenthood
Yeah.
position rather quickly?
Yeah. And I told him,
Don't
I'm
you think it
like,
has a lot to do with us, though?
oh, yeah, I think that he loves me for sure. He has to love me.
I know, but
Otherwise, you can't,
our
you know?
grooming, our the stance that we make in the
hmm
household, I think that helped them to become better fathers to our children.
Yeah. And when me and Chris talk about it, he told me to like, when he does finally have kids,
Mhm.
then
When is that
he'll
going to
be
be?
see. Well,
Honey, do you have a test in the bathroom?
we talk about it often because
Yeah.
but it's only for financial reasons. Because
Yeah.
I always told Chris, I'm like, Chris, if I didn't have no kids, I'd be pregnant right
Mm-hmm.
now. So if I had one, I'd be pregnant right now. But I want him to be comfortable because he's very worrisome. I'm the one that's like, oh yeah, the house is burning down. It's all right.
We're getting another
And he's
house.
just like, the house is burning down.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want you to be that overwhelmed parent.
Mhm.
Because it is a lot.
It is a lot,
So
especially when you have two little ones.
right, and then our goal is, I pray to God we have a son. I don't want any more daughters. If we have a son, I kind of need that space and room to be able to reparent all over again because
Mhm.
I've never parented a boy.
Mm,
So I'm like, I want to be able to enjoy
that is
this
something.
100% because I'm like, I really hope we have a boy.
Yeah.
But if we have a boy, I'm like, this is new for me
That is gonna
too.
be that's gonna be a brand new territory for the both of you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
That'll be a that's interesting.
I told him I just want to be able to enjoy it. I don't want us to be stressed out and crying and we're looking at each other bags down here trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out what to do with this child.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, it's gonna come, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on
And he's getting
it.
good practice.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Oh, poor thing. He
Well,
yeah.
I know that you guys are taking, good valuable time to make that choice to have a child. Travis and I had our first baby together 3 months after we were married, wasn't it? Okay, I'm gonna say yes, wasn't it?
You got pregnant 3 months
Yeah,
after you
I got pregnant. We didn't have the child. We got pregnant 3 months after we were
Thank you for
married.
not calling our kid bastard.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then because of my age, I knew I could not, I didn't have the luxury to take time in between kids. Um, so I had to have, well, not had to, but it just so happened, got pregnant again 3 months after having little Travis.
You guys didn't waste no time.
Mm-mm. I was breastfeeding and pregnant, honey. Breastfeeding and pregnant. So it was, it, and the fact that we've been married for 14 years and the two oldest boys are adults now. It's nice to see um everything that we put into raising them. It's it's nice to see that coming back, the rewards coming back, and to also have those conversations where they say, I remember you told me this. I remember you explained this to us. Of course, as children, they don't see that and they don't analyze our instructions very well. They
Mm-hmm.
think of it as, let me go against that grain.
Mm-hmm.
But to have them as adults, how rewarding and refreshing it is to hear that they can remember things that we've done when they were children or things that we've said that impacted their lives. It definitely impacted them, in a positive way. So as your girls get older and you listen to the stories of what they remember when Chris came into their lives, that's going to be a beautiful thing to hear because I guarantee you they'll be able to tell you how much Chris meant to them and how much of a great um, a, a role model
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to choose men that are similar to the way their parent treated them. So it's very important that you're with someone. We both are with a man that is very patient, very understanding. You know, they're men. They're manly men, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's very very. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I am too. I'd say the best thing I could leave it with, that he's done, or even for my children, it's not, the materialistic things or the talks or anything like that. It's simply the fact that they're finally getting to see their mom loved the
Mm,
proper way.
mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing because that's something that will carry with them.
Absolutely.
And being the roles that their fathers play, they're pretty minimal. So to on a day-to-day basis see, okay, this man, he loves my mom, he compliments her, he
Yeah.
does things for her, he's here with us, she's always smiling, there's no fighting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing
Mm-hmm.
because I can remember all those happy moments and all the bad moments
Mm-hmm.
from when I
Mm-hmm.
was a child being around my parents. And you carry those things with you. Like once you start, to become an adult and mature, you can actually emotionally process the things that were actually going on.
Yeah.
And it,
Yeah.
puts you in a position where as an adult, I will do this, or I won't. I won't do that, or I will tolerate this, or I will not tolerate that, according to what you saw.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually going to say that it gives them a sense of what their standards are,
Mm-hmm.
as to choosing their mate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to make sure they don't, go to the bottom of the barrel and take whatever they feel is that they're worthy of.
Mm-hmm.
Just to know what their expectations are on a good, healthy relationship. I wanted to make sure that my kids not, I don't want them to be under the impression that we never have a disagreement,
Mm-hmm.
but because we can solve these disagreements in a healthy fashion is better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to see that we don't have to fuss and cuss and
Mm-hmm.
hit and spit and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
and then still be able to resolve our conflicts. They have to be able to have conflict resolutions in life, and so I want them to see that it can happen without being aggressive.
And then I will say this also. The other thing, it's like a prideful thing for me, seeing, how my children interact with him and moving forward, how they'll interact with him the older they get.
Hmm.
Because, a lot of people always have their opinions outside looking in.
Yeah.
But when they see, like, oh, she's running up to him and
Hmm.
smiling and
Hmm.
laughing, and she loves his
She's not
presence.
afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it's like, it lightens the rest of
Hmm.
the world up,
Hmm.
like, oh, okay,
It
well,
can happen.
this is the family.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
They're thriving.
Hmm.
So that makes me happy, and it just makes me feel like finally made the right decision. Finally, after all these years. Might have took me a little minute,
Yeah.
but I got there.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. So I know there are plenty of women out there that have gone through the same experience of having children and then getting married again, and all and combining those families together. Um, when you have children, there you have a different mindset of what your expectations are than if you were single without children. So it's very important that women who date with children really look at the big picture of how it can affect the kids, and to be able to make those decisions on who your partner is going to be. Because if you're just going out there just to have relationships with anybody just to have fun, then it's never going to work out with having a long committed relationship with your kids, because you went into it differently. So I just want to make sure that this conversation is something that women do talk about. You can talk about with your mothers, your friends, your aunts, because there are several women that are in the same position that we are. And I want to make sure that discussion is open, because you have to be able to talk to your significant other about what your expectations are, especially when it comes to kids.
I agree.
Because if you don't say it, they don't know. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully Ashley will come back again. We'll talk about another subject, probably on after. Okay. Maybe her next topic would be after marriage stuff. Since they're engaged and they have to now go to the next stop, the next step to it. Um, and just trying to see how that works out, especially with my son, being a new father and a new husband. We as parents love to see that be successful. So thank you very much for joining us, and hope to see you soon.